Some 11 months after Nick Fury got out his little emergency pager and sent a message to Captain Marvel in the end credits of Avengers Infinity War, Carol Danvers has finally arrived in the MCU. But obviously before she can deal with Thanos herself, she has to sort out her own origin story. You know the drill. Captain Marvel takes us back to the 1990s, a time before Iron Man, before the Avengers, when Captain America was still on ice and she crashes to Earth through the roof of a blockbuster video. That's the film's first of very, very many "Hey, I remember that" moments. The film doesn't exactly break the mold of the MCU, but then again, didn't really have to, did it? It's just an exciting, entertaining first introduction to the character, the ending of which means she can only go higher, further, faster. I think that's how it goes. Anyway, yes, let's examine in what directions. Before I start, we'll point out that this video does obviously contain huge, earth-shattering, groundbreaking spoilers for Captain Marvel. So if you've not seen it yet and you don't want it ruined, why are you here? Like, the ending is just such a red flag. Like, that title should have put you off. Anyway, here we go. It's your fault now. Number 10, Carol is off to fight for the Skrulls. Now, Captain Marvel had a few little twists hidden away in it, but none were quite as big or as important as the fact that it's not actually the Skrulls that are the main antagonist here. They are at the start, yes, she begins fighting them, but when she gets to Earth, we discover that they're just looking for a new home. It's actually the Kree that are the dicks. Despite being an entire franchise about superheroes, the only character we've got who's really a beacon of hope and goodness is Captain America, so it's about time we had another one to do that. Like, she's got her origins, her power are all shrouded in secrecy, but by the end, she's leading a big group of space refugees, and that's a positive message. Now, bear in mind that in the Captain Marvel timeline, we're only just still in the 90s, we haven't quite leapt forward yet, so this is a good place for her to be at this stage of her character. She's going to go off and do all these good and pure and wholesome things, and we can come back and visit that in any inevitable sequels. Who she is in Endgame is not who she is here. Number 9, Secret Invasion probably isn't happening as expected. Yeah, so hands up if you did loads of videos about Earth being full of Skrulls and that being a big thing that's going to be in the MCU, and now you look like a dick. Actually, wait, no, sorry, I should rewind a bit. If you've not heard of it, Secret Invasion is this big crossover event in the comics where it's revealed that the Skrulls have infiltrated a number of high-ranking positions on Earth because they want to do a complete takeover of the planet. They've also taken over a couple of MCU heroes as well. We thought that's where they were going with this. But yes, no, that's obviously not going to happen. Now, despite all of the reports, that's the direction they wanted to head in, and that was going to be the next big MCU event, and the fact that they were laying the groundwork for at least the first part of this film, no, absolutely not. Talos is just a banter merchant. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not completely impossible that they could still try and pull off Secret Invasion from here, but it just wouldn't work, would it? The Skrull are too sympathetic. They're sort of like, not the good guys, but they're definitely not the bad guys now. It would be hard to take them seriously as a major threat. So yeah, bin that off. Number 8, the Kree aren't really going to do much. Yeah, so by the end of this, the Kree are totally boned, aren't they? Like, Danvers vows to destroy the Supreme Intelligence. She's just Raiders of the Lost Ark's Yon Rog, and then Ronan's like, I'm gonna come back and get her eventually, but we know he doesn't because he gets killed in a dance-off with Peter Quill, so what the hell? Now, yes, the remaining Kree may still go after Captain Marvel and the Skrulls. Ronan may come back to try and get it, but we know what happens with all of these characters, so ultimately it's gonna fail. There's not really much stake you can put in those films. If she comes back for a sequel, she needs a new challenge. But I mean, if it is going to be Ronan be the bad guy in another film, then that's Guardians of the Galaxy Part 1 he was in and did pretty much nothing. Captain Marvel he was in and did pretty much nothing. This would be the most let down little mini trilogy the MCU have ever done. Just Ronan turning up and getting his arse handed to him for 3 films. Number 7, Monica could return in the present day. Part of the very heart of the Captain Marvel movie is this relationship between Carol and Maria. She's like a best friend before she goes missing in space. She's a link to her past when she finally comes back, and she is one hell of a pilot. Now, yes, it is almost certain we will see Maria back at some point in the remaining MCU, but it does feel more important that we're reintroduced to her daughter, Monica. You see, in the comics, she becomes a superhero in her own right. She's gone by the name Photon, Pulsar, Spectrum. I think that's all correct. And she even uses the name Captain Marvel at one point in her life. That is all things that could be explored in a sequel. Now, yes, she is just an 11-year-old girl at this point, but if a sequel jumps, say, 10 years into the future, then she'd be roughly the same age as Carol Danvers is at the start of this film. Plus, if it even only jumps 5 years into the future, she's the same age Peter Parker is in Spider-Man Homecoming, so there's loads you can do there. Number 6, the Tesseract is with S.H.I.E.L.D. So yeah, surprise! It's actually the Tesseract that is the MacGuffin of this whole film. It's the thing that powers the energy core that's going to stop all this war, which is why the Kree want to get it back off Marvel so they can win the war instead, which is why they shoot her down on the test flight and then end up killing her. But then, yeah, Yon-Rogg doesn't get the thing because Danvers blows it up and that stops them getting it. But then she gets her powers through it, so they go, she'll not remember this, so they take her and they go back to planet Kree, I think it's called, and they give her the blood and they turn her into a soldier, and that's your film. Anyway, we get a nice old space battle for the big blue cube, which is mostly hidden inside a Happy Days lunchbox. I loved that touch, by the way, before Goose gets onto Nick Fury's desk at the end of the film and he just sticks it up. That's it. That's how S.H.I.E.L.D. get the Tesseract. It comes out of a cat. Now, for all you may be taking a slight edge of cynicism in my voice there, how dare you? For a start, that does actually fit with the established timeline for the Tesseract. Like, Red Skull had it, then he dropped it into the sea like a big old divvy, but Howard Stark fished it out, took it to S.H.I.E.L.D., and we know that Marvel worked with S.H.I.E.L.D. and then discovered it through there. Now, there is still a bit of a gap between how Stark got it and then how Marvel got it, but that's fine. She just did. So yes, now it's back in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s possession sometime in the mid-90s, and it stays there until Thanos sends Loki to get it at the start of the first Avengers film. So well done, they've tied that one up nicely. Number 5, it linked Captain Marvel to Thanos personally. The other big takeaway from this is that Captain Marvel was technically sort of created by the Tesseract. Like, I know it wasn't really in the engine, it was just kind of the power from that, but when that exploded, all the energy went into her, so her powers come from the Space Stone. But crucially, she doesn't need the Space Stone to use her powers. Like, not like Vision, who's got the thing embedded in his head. Now, this might be me reading slightly too far into this, but effectively, you've now got a superpowered superhero using the power of an Infinity Stone, but without actually having the stone itself. So if you establish that can be done, you can harness the power of these things without actually having them, and one of them is literally the Time Stone. There's surely a whole lot you can do with that. You don't need the Time Stone to use the power of the Time Stone, and, well, they really, really need the Time Stone, but don't have it, but they can still use its power. Just me. Number 4, Captain Marvel is just beginning to realise her full potential. As with all great origin stories, Carol Danvers does not realise the full extent of her powers, or indeed get to use them, until the final part of the film. She's like, hey, this implant's actually rubbish, it's holding me back. Throws that off, and then she's zipping around space, blowing up spaceships with her big photon arms. I like that. It's big, yes, it's brash, yes, but we've been told that Captain Marvel is going to be the most powerful hero in all of the MCU, and yes, this did all look very good, but I wouldn't quite say it puts her on that level yet. What might, for example, is if they go down the route of the comics, where she's experimented on by a group called the Brood. No, not that group called the Brood, where she learns to harness the power of a white hole. It's only here does she gain full control and manipulation of stellar energies. You know what stellar energies are. They're things like heat, gravity, the electromagnetic spectrum. Yeah, we all knew all of those, all of the greatest hits. Only when she gets those will she be an undisputed number 1, so that's possibly a route they'll go down. Number 3, the Avengers Initiative is named after Carol. Not actually a lot really to unpack with this one, it's just a really, really nice little moment that apparently some people seem to miss. Now, on the off chance you spent the last 5 minutes in that film with your eyes closed and your fingers in your ears, Nick Fury was typing out his plan to try and save the world. He's telling Coulson that we need more heroes like her, and hell, we found her without even looking for her. And he's typing out his big plan for how he's going to do it on his big 90s keyboard, and it says the Protector Initiative. But he looks at that photo of Carol Danvers where her call sign on her plane is Avenger, and he deletes it and he types out the Avenger Initiative. Is that a massive big retcon being done purely because it's a nice moment in that film? Yes, absolutely, of course it is. But is it a really nice moment nonetheless? Yes, also. Number 2, her Endgame Arrival, open brackets with a new suit, close brackets. Yeah, the movie does wrap up pretty nicely. I think the Kree have been largely defeated. Carol's off into the universe to find a new home for the Skrulls, and Fury's back at his desk. I've already done the typing gimmick a few times, setting up the Avenger Initiative. Except then we jump to the mid-credits scene. Now, if you would be so kind to cast your little mind all the way back to the end credits scene in Infinity War, Fury, realizing that everything is going all Pete Tong, pulls out the pager, turns to dust, drops it on the floor, but we see that he has summoned Captain Marvel, or at the very least, he has paged her. Now, yes, we do see Carol give him that pager in the film itself, but jump to the mid-credit scene of Captain Marvel, and there it is again. What's left of the Avengers have got their hands on Fury's pager, and they've rigged it up to be transmitting constantly, but it just craps out on them, it dies, it breaks, and they're debating whether or not they should try and fix it. They don't even know what it's for, but according to Black Widow, Fury did, and that's all that matters. But then, turn around, there is Captain Marvel. She's finally arrived, and her first question, where's Fury? Just gonna slightly break character here. Did anybody else really like that in the moment, but then get out the cinema and be like, oh, they've spoiled the big moment in Endgame there. I know how she arrives now. I was kind of looking forward to finding that out. Anyway, I digress. When she's there, her armor is different. It's more bulky, I guess. She's got a bit hench while she's been away. It's certainly more padded. The logo slightly different. She looks like she hasn't aged a goddamn day in 20 years, but other than that, she looks more like the finished product. And yes, just in case there was a shadow of doubt left in absolutely anybody's mind, this scene confirms she will be in Avengers Endgame. I'm very excited. It's like 3 weeks now. I just want to see it. Number 1, what it means for Avengers 4. Now, regardless of whether or not that mid-credit scene is set like at the beginning of Endgame or just before it, it does confirm one thing we didn't already know. She is in a lot of this movie. Like, that comes right at the beginning of the story, so she's going to be in the whole thing. And one other thing, we did say that trailer looked like they digitally cropped somebody out of loads and loads of it, but we didn't think it was going to be her because it was far too early in the film for her to be turning up. But nope, she's there right at the very start, so that's almost definitely her missing in all of those shots. So it's a nice little revelation. Now, the marketing has suggested, and take this very much with a pinch of Stan Lee, that they're going to formulate a plan at the start of the film, the one they're all marching off to do in the trailer, but that goes wrong, then they have to come up with something else involving the quantum realm. And that does tell us, if you want to read between the lines, that while we do expect Captain Marvel to lead the Avengers in future, she's not going to be doing that straight away. Like, there's still the core team there. She's still very much just there to help. So, yeah. So, guys, there you have it. Those are all the little ending threads of Captain Marvel and where each single one of them is leading us in the MCU. Let us know what you made of it all by leaving a comment below. And, of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, as if you would forget that. In the meantime, though, thank you very much for watching. I've, of course, been Adam Cleary, and I am really, really excited for Endgame now. I just want it now. I want it now. Now. I want it now. Bye.